So Jerry Jones is under scrutiny for a photo that was unearthed of him at a protest of the integration of the Little Rock Nine at the Central High School in Little Rock back in 1957. So cancel culture is coming to cancel Jerry Jones, and they're using this photo to highlight that he has not hired a black head coach since he's been the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. So they're using a photo from when he's 14 or 15 years old to justify that somehow Jerry Jones is now racist because he hasn't hired a black head coach. Let's talk about it.
That was, 65 years ago, and a curious kid. I didn't know at the time the monumental event, really, that was going on, and I'm sure glad that we're a long way from that. I am, and we just. That would remind me just continue to do everything we can to not have those kinds of things happen.
Jerry, do you understand the perception that people have of you standing there? Because that was not exactly a welcoming committee that day.
Yeah, I sure do, and I understand that.
Welcome back to the Biblical Conservative channel, where we're coming against the anti-God, anti-biblical, anti-human, anti-American spirit that's looking to prevail in this land. Remember, we're not victims. We are empowered for greatness. Please be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. So recently, in the last few days after the Thanksgiving game for the Cowboys, a photo was released from the Washington Post, no less, that showed Jerry Jones back in 1957. I think he was either 14 or 15 years old at the time. Keep in mind, this man is 80 years old now, or almost 80 years old. So this photo of him at a protest against the desegregation of the Central High School in Little Rock. And so now people are using this to say, oh wow, Jerry Jones is a racist. Jerry Jones has not hired a black head coach since he's been the owner of the Dallas Cowboys. This explains it. He has racism inside of him. Look, the supply of racism does not meet the demand. So therefore, people have to go to great lengths to find racism. So they unearthed this picture from 65 years ago to say that this man is a racist, or to imply that this man is a racist. And so CNN, Don Lemon, and the morning team actually had a member of the Little Rock Nine on to talk about this.
That photo was taken just weeks, of course, before the Little Rock Nine integrated a separate school, Little Rock Central High School. At the time, President Eisenhower had dispatched federal troops to help escort the 9 black students past those resisting them entering the school. It became a pivotal moment in the civil rights movement. So joining us now to talk about this is a member of the Little Rock Nine, Ernest Green. And Ernest, good morning, and thank you for being with us. And I think first off, we just want to get your reaction to what Jerry Jones said as he's explaining his presence in that photo.
Well, good morning to both of you and to the audience. Well, my view is that Jerry Jones has an opportunity to make that picture have a different ending by pursuing diversity and inclusion and involvement of the African American community, people of color all throughout this country. Dallas Cowboys is an institution that most Americans know something about it. Professional football is an entity that everybody has some interest in, and I think that rather than talk to Jerry about what happened in 1957, let's go forward and see what we can do in this year.
Now, you see that his response was measured and appropriate. Instead of talking about what Jerry Jones did 65 years ago, let's have a reasonable discussion about what's going on now. What can be done in an NFL and what can be done by the Dallas Cowboys specifically to help, to improve the hiring of black head coaches. I think it's more than just an owner just hiring a black head coach. It's about making sure that you have the pipeline in place. It's about making sure you give those coaches opportunities to grow, not just on the field, but also have the opportunity to be able to speak in a room full of people that do not look like them. But you know, Don Lemon wasn't having that. He wanted to hone in on that picture and talk about how Jerry Jones has not hired a black head coach. His track record of hiring diverse coaches on his staff has not been satisfactory.
I think listen, I have to tell you, Ms. Green, thank you so much for doing this. Good morning to you. Happy Thanksgiving. It is indeed an honor to be on with you because of people like you. In large part is why I'm able to sit in the seat and do what I do. So I think it's tremendous that you want to stay in the present and move forward. But if you look at that picture and the faces in that crowd, you faced similar faces. You saw those people. Those people grew up to be adults, many of them still alive today, functioning in this society. So for those faces, like the Jerry Jones and others that you witnessed, what's your message to them right now?
Well, they have an opportunity today to make that picture a different outcome, to show that this can be a country that involves people, not wants to keep them out. I mean, the reason I went to Central High School was, one, it was nearer to me than the school that I was attending, and two, that Central had more classes, diversity of classes. They had physics, we didn't have physics. All of that was to show that a segregated life in Arkansas was not something that was going to have a good outcome. And I think today, as head of the Dallas Cowboys, he has an opportunity to have a tremendous impact on expanding opportunities in this country.
And here she comes. She's about to bring in the point that Jerry Jones has not hired enough black head coaches, but she doesn't even talk about the number of black players that have been employed by the Dallas Cowboys, or the number of probably black executives that have been employed by the Dallas Cowboys, and maybe not. But you're not having a full breadth of the discussion. You're just focusing in, honing in on the black head coaches. Talk about the full breadth of what's been going on with the Cowboys and across the NFL. Is there an issue with the NFL not hiring enough black head coaches? Yes. There's an issue with the SEC not hiring enough black head coaches. We need to have a serious discussion about that. That is legit. For example, when I went to school, I went to Alabama. The fact that we had a black quarterback when I was there was topic of discussion. So we have made some progress in the last 20 some years because we've had a number of black quarterbacks at Bama since I graduated. But nevertheless, we haven't had a black head coach in the SEC except for Sylvester Croom. So if you're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys and NFL, you need to talk about the SEC too. I'm just keeping it real. I like the SEC. I'm an Bama alumni, but you have to understand these things. But it's a whole breadth of a discussion that needs to be had, not just head coaches. And another thing too, we want to hire the best head coaches. Position those coaches to be successful. Give them the ability to be successful. That's what I'm asking for. And then put them in the room and have someone advocate for them in the room. Not a charity for them, not to give them charity, because black men don't want charity, but we want an equal opportunity. We want equality of opportunity, not equity of outcome. We don't want the same outcome. We want equality of opportunity. That's what we're looking for. That's what we're striving for, because we're not victims. We are empowered for greatness. Don't make us victims. Just give us the same opportunity as somebody else.
And that's been a big question. Is he using his role? That's been the question kind of raised by those photos. Is he using his role and to further black coaches, to elevate them, not just Jerry Jones, but other organizations in the NFL? Because that's been, it seems like a big blind spot for them.
Well, and I think you're right. I mean, the article that I read showed that while the Cowboys have a African-American quarterback, they did. I haven't followed it daily. Part ownership, an opportunity to bring in black coaches and people of color. All of that is within their grasp. And Jerry Jones is somehow, he has more attention on him than many of the other owners. He's a pacemaker. He can set the tone, and I hope he will. I hope he'll use this as a stepping stone and not a rock to throw at somebody. But I applaud you, Don, for raising this because the NFL sets a tone for more than just sports. It really sets a tone for the country as a whole, and going forward is what we need. We need more involvement of the business community. We need to be able to show that there's a relationship between education and success. All of this is tied together, and I think Jerry Jones would have an opportunity to try and right a wrong.
Yeah.
So, in a curious development, Stephen A. Smith was actually the voice of reason in this whole situation. Surprisingly, because Stephen A. Smith loves to stir up racial animus. He loves to be that race grifter, that race hustler. But in this case, curiously, he actually comes to the defense of Jerry Jones.
I'm very, very fond of Jerry Jones. And I'm not hiding that from anybody. Is his record perfect? No. But I'm pissed off because he doesn't deserve what just happened. He doesn't deserve it. Our report said he was 14 years old. Another report said he was 15 years old. At minimum, that's 65 years ago. You're gonna bring up a picture of Jerry Jones standing at this protest. No question, what was happening is not something that anybody as a black person should be appreciative about. We had 6 students at that particular North Little Rock High School that was trying to desegregate the school.
No one should be okay with it.
Nobody should be okay with that.
Regardless of
We
race.
understand that.
Why she gotta throw in her 2 cents? Nobody's okay with what happened 65 years ago. Everybody understands that was wrong. Why she gotta throw her 2 cents in?
We get all of that. We also understand what we as black people and as black folks, black men have to deal with. And by the way, to some degree, we still deal with a lot of things, and we all know it. Racism is alive and well. Bigotry and prejudice is alive and well. We get all of that. But you're gonna bring up a photo of him when he was 14, 15 years old, 65 or 66 years ago. This is where cancer culture gets into the mix, and you're making an attempt to eradicate him, what he stands for, and all he has done. And by the way, I don't have a problem with the photo. I don't have a problem. If he was 30, 35, 40 years old, that's different.
Right.
14, 15 years old. 14, 15 years old.
Right.
But we're gonna lean on somebody when he was 14, born and raised in the South, and we're gonna pick it up 66 years later to say, you know something?
Yeah.
You ain't hire a black coach. I think that's pretty low.
And Stephen A. speaks the truth. This is just being used to disparage Jerry Jones, to bully him into hiring a black coach, to bully him to acquiescing to the race hustlers or race grifters, the one who's using race to destroy and subvert this land. That's what it's all being used for. The fact that they brought this up. And you know what? I would not be surprised if the Washington Commanders had something to do with this. The league is coming against the owner of the Commanders, and I bet he was in partnership with somebody at the Washington Post. It's just a hunch on my part. He was in partnership with somebody at the Washington Post to dig up this dirt on Jerry Jones to try to turn the tables and take the heat off the Washington Commanders. But either way, the fact that this picture came up to disparage and to attack Jerry Jones, to make him seem to be a racist, to be a sympathizer with white supremacy, it's all a farce, man. It's all a farce. They need to drum up racism. They need to drum it up. They need to keep it in the attention and the psyche of the American public so they can accomplish their agenda of subverting this land. That's the reason for it. And so Jerry Jones just lays a victim of that. We're not victims. We are empowered for greatness.